Oh, what wouldst thou have? I am ready to obey thee. As thy slave, and the slave of all those who have that lamp, even though it's a kettle. But yeah, and I and the other slaves of the lamp. Yeah. Just say a wish. I command thee to grant Bark nor Zed misfortune. Thy wish is my command. Was it just me, or were there weird noises in my room? Anyway, sup YouTube, it's Bark nor Zed, and today I would like to review this book. What just happened? Ow, that hurt. Sup YouTube, it's Bark nor Zed, and today I am going to be reviewing this book called Aladdin and Other Tales from the Arabian Nights. So if anyone out there does not know what the Arabian Nights are, well, they are basically a bunch of stories that were told by this girl called Shahrazad. And, well, she's not a real girl, she's a girl from a story, and in this story are those stories. So, like, it's a story within a story. Basically, this girl, she was married to this really crazy king who killed his wives, and so she could delay his killing of her, she told him a story every night and stopped at the cliffhanger, and he was too tired, so she would have to continue the story the next night, and that way he would spare her life until the next day, and the next day, once she ended the story, she would start another one, and so on until, well, I don't know, forever. They just kept on telling stories every night and delaying the time for her to be killed. Yeah, it's just an interesting concept, and this is like a bunch of stories that she told, and one of them is Aladdin, and I mean the original story of Aladdin, and of course there's a bunch of other stories. My favorite one of those stories was The Loss of the Talisman, something like that. I just really enjoyed it, and also Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. I just loved Morgiana. She is such an intelligent character. At the end of this review, I'm going to compare it to a manga, but yeah, that's gonna be at the end. Right now, I'd like to give you a brief summary of each one of these stories. Let's start with Aladdin, the first story. So there's this boy named Aladdin. He is really lazy, he never actually does any work, and his mother was pretty poor. But then one day this magician comes and claims to be his father's brother. And then he takes Aladdin and makes him kind of like go into this underground place and bring him this lamp. But Aladdin ends up taking that lamp, and that lamp contains a genie. So Aladdin uses that genie to grant more than one wish. He doesn't really use it in a greedy way, to be honest. He just wishes for really simple stuff that he can sell and gain money for his family. And along the way, he sees this beautiful princess and decides to marry her. But of course, it's kind of hard since he's a peasant, just a normal guy, and she's this princess. But they just kind of try more than once, and his mother helps him a lot. So Aladdin's original story is pretty interesting. Yeah, and the second story, The King of Persia and the Princess of the Sea. It's basically this king of Persia who falls in love with this princess, and for like a really long time, probably for around a year or something, she doesn't speak to him, and then once she finally speaks, she explains to him that she comes from the sea and that she has a whole family down there. And yeah, it's an interesting story. The third story is Prince Kamar Zaman and the Princess of China. So basically this prince, no matter how much his father introduces him to girls, he just does not want to marry. He never actually falls in love with any of them. And the same thing goes for that princess who's in another country. Her father tries to persuade her to marry different guys, but same thing, she does not accept. And somehow they get to meet each other. Or not actually meet, they actually just see each other sleeping. Each one sees the other sleeping, and they just miraculously fall in love. And well, there's a lot of things that happen here, or like that happened back in the day, that really surprise me and are actually pretty funny. Like, you just saw this girl for a few minutes asleep. How can you possibly go that crazy about her? And even if you knew her, how could you just go sick for a whole year just because you saw some random lady sleeping? Okay, let's forget that. Let's forget that. The story after that, and it's actually a sequel to this story. It's called The Loss of the Talisman. It happens after the story that I just mentioned. It's like with the same characters but a different concept, and to be honest, it's my favorite because I felt it kind of had this, like, fate really played a big part in this story, and destiny and coincidences. It was just really interesting. The next 7 stories are actually from Sinbad. There are 7 voyages of Sinbad, and each one has a different chapter. To be honest, I did not enjoy Sinbad as much as the rest of the stories, mainly because I felt they kept on dragging on and on and on. I mean, yeah, they were interesting at first, but it just became too much. And Sinbad is the total opposite of Aladdin. He is completely unlucky. The story of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. So basically, this dude, Ali Baba, he glimpses these 40 thieves saying "open sesame" to this wall, and then just opens up and shows the storage of all the things that they've stolen, and Alibaba starts to steal from their stolen treasures and using it, and his brother Qasim, he starts getting suspicious, and then there's the slave Morgiana that always saves Alibaba from his enemies and stuff by using her intelligence. And the story after that is the story of the enchanted horse. There's a freaking flying horse, and this guy, this Indian, he presents it to the king, and the prince decides to try it, but he does not know how to go back. And while he is flying on it, he lands in this place and meets a princess, and well, obviously, they fall in love. Obviously. And the final story is the story of the genie and the fisherman. I found that this story proved how much people back in the day had really smart tongues. Like, they could actually persuade each other so well just by using speech. But after the story of the genie, there's a story of the genie and the fisherman part 2. It was not from the fisherman's point of view, it was from a king's point of view, but it kind of continued the same story. This thing was enjoyable, so much unique ideas and stuff. And now I would like to talk about Magi. So this manga was inspired by the Arabian Nights, and that's pretty obvious since most of the characters' names from this are taken from this, such as Aladdin, Alibaba, Morgiana, Sinbad, and so on. And even the ideas are quite similar, but these stories happen to be different. So it's like seeing an alternative version of the Arabian Nights. But of course, these stories are completely different, and even the characters' personalities are different. Like, for example, Morgiana, she is a slave, and she is smart. I'm not saying she's dumb. She is smart, but she's not, like, it's not her smartness that makes her stand out as much as it is what makes her stand out here. It's more her strength that represents her in Magi, because she has really strong legs. So that was my review of Aladdin and Other Tales of the Arabian Nights. I definitely recommend this. It's like really original, really classic, and fun to read. Thanks for watching. Peace.